Welcome to episode 19 of the Marketing Operators Podcast. Fellas, how we doing?
I'm fighting my way through.
Just have a banana in the morning and you're good. So we got a good one today. First off, we just run through kind of a catch up. We then go into a Prime Day debrief.
Awesome. Love that.
Awesome.
We talk about forecasting.
Most often, you're not going to hit your forecast. You're going to miss one way or the other.
Are you guys just guessing?
Correct.
Guys, we couldn't help ourselves. We got into cost caps a little bit. I'm sorry.
You can take the guy out of media buying, but you can't take the media buying out of the guy.
Love it. We talk about hiring management. We talk about meeting structure. I think we have another probably 2 or 3 episodes to do on this. It's a fun, rich topic.
Super stoked on all that.
Thank you as always to the sponsors, Motion, Richpanel, Haus, and Prescient. And as always, if you're enjoying the show, if you want to share it with others, subscribe and share. We have some awesome episodes coming up. We have some amazing guests that are all at the top of their game in the subject matter that they're experts in. So make sure you subscribe to get notified when those goes live.
When we talk about our premium sponsor Motion, we talk about adding analytical rigor to your creative strategy. We say Jones Road uses it, Hexclad uses it, Ridge uses it, True Classic uses it, but why? Why are all these 9-figure brands using Motion? And as a head of growth or marketing leader, you're constantly looking for ways to make your team more effective, improve processes, and make better decisions faster. For Ridge, we're able to organize our content more cleanly, standardize the metrics that we measure, and make better decisions quicker, ultimately leading to stronger business outcomes. We're using Motion on all of our weekly calls. As soon as we launch a new campaign, a new product, or we're just managing our evergreen campaigns, we take a bottoms-up approach to how is each piece of content performing, and ultimately how is that leading to us hitting our ultimate goals. Today, you can get 50% off your first month when you mention the Marketing Operators Podcast to the Motion sales team. Make sure to visit motionapp.com to learn more.
All right, fellas, how we doing?
Doing pretty good. I'm feeling a little under the weather, so I'll apologize if my voice sounds a little scratchier than usual. But I'm here, showing up.
What do you got going on? You got a little cold?
Yeah, I don't know what it is. It's really just my throat that's bothering me. I sound much worse than I feel. I feel like really great, but
You gotta get those lozenges going today.
Yeah, I got those going. I got some Zyacam going. So I'm fighting my way through.
The full stack. Cody, I was at the grocery store last night with my girlfriend, and she's like 3 inches from about scanning this drink, and I see that it's Poppy, and I grab her arm and I go, Aaron, we are Olipop people.
Olipop, yeah.
And I made her put it back. I made her put it back, and there just happened to be an Olipop like branded fridge right there, and it was just so perfect. And now I'm doing my best imitation of you.
What do you got? You got the Olipop?
I got my Olipop.
Ooh,
is it too early? It's 8:09.
No, it's kind of like an orange juice.
Let me give you a live. I had the cream soda last night, so let me give you a live.
Let's see it, and then I'll show you my drink for the day.
That's good. I mean, I think the cream soda was better, but you're right. It is a little more orange juicy, maybe a little more morning friendly.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, no hate on the Poppy fam either. I just prefer Olipop, but
wait, though, hold on. There was some scandal though with Poppy, right? Wasn't there something about Poppy putting added sugar into their drinks? I didn't read too much into it.
I think it was just like marketing. I think they were marketing it as like good for you and better for you, and there was no, found benefit.
I see.
That was my understanding. Yeah.
Okay.
No found benefit for Poppy, but there is for Olipop.
Or they just weren't marketing it the same. Maybe they weren't marketing it as aggressively. I am unaware, so I should not. I'm speaking out.
Okay. I was just saying. I recently had a discussion about Poppy because we're a Poppy house. I didn't realize it was so divisive. It's not my choice, but I say they're like 25 calories or whatever. 50 calories, something like that. I'd rather just get a Spindrift. Give me a LaCroix. I don't think it's worth it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I know I'm trying. I used to get like hooked on Diet Coke, and so I'm trying to do Olipop instead. But yeah, those calories do add up.
Yeah.
Spindrift's a go-to drink, though. Yeah, I agree with that.
They're like the prebiotic drink, right, with like the fiber. But I mean, just have a banana in the morning, and you're good.
Well, on that note, so let me show you my drinks today. I got a few. So I got a smoothie.
He's got multiple. Let's go.
Well, it's Friday morning. The smoothie place opened up like a block from us, and so I take my daughter on she calls it a Mooney date every week. That's like her favorite place to go. So
is that your daughter trying to say smoothie?
Yeah.
Nice.
So it's fun. So she'll say, like, me and you, Mooney date. And I'm like, I have to take her. I can't not. So that's always fun, Friday morning. But I got these Element tea. I guess probably Element is how you call it. I don't know if you guys know them, like the packets. But they got these sparkling beverages. I wasn't quite sure what to think. Have you guys ever had Element? Like the
Yes,
packets?
but I didn't realize they were expanding into canned beverages.
Yeah, so these are sparkling and they're also electrolyte, and it's like my two favorite things. Like I'm so bad at drinking regular water, if you can't tell. By the way, I didn't realize how big Element got. Like I brought one of these to work, and everyone was like, "Oh, I drink the packets," and I had no idea that they had blown up that much.
I didn't realize that either.
I don't know anything about them and their size. I know they work with Huberman and stuff like that. So that's got to help blow people up. But yeah, when I first had the Element packets, and then we can actually get onto some e-commerce stuff. But I thought they were like super salty. They were like so salty, and now I love them. And so this drink, when I first had it, I was like, it's like gross. It's like so salty. It's pure salt. But now I'm like obsessed with it. And it's only 5 calories. It's probably like $4 a can, so I should be careful.
Yeah.
I know. I had to order. I was buying those. I like the recess drinks. I think those are awesome, and I was buying them at this like bougie organic grocery store. They're like $4.50, $5 a can.
Wild,
So I finally went online and just bit the bullet and got like an 18 pack from their .com site.
Love that. Yeah, I love that. I don't know why I have like a weird obsession with these drinks, but
good. We appreciate the run through, Cody.
I love it's truly, I truly enjoy and am eager to always see what Cody's got.
All right, I'll try to change it up a little bit more.
No, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Guys, I gotta tell you something I'm excited about right now. So, you guys read the Morning Brew?
Used to.
Occasionally.
Occasionally. So Alex Lieberman?
Yeah.
So Alex Lieberman slid into the LinkedIn DMs. I guess he's working on Arnold's Pump Club. It's a newsletter. I haven't read it, but I'm assuming it's all about fitness and weightlifting and health and all that jazz. And he reached out about a potential HexClad partnership. So I'm meeting with Alex Lieberman next Monday, which is kind of cool. I was like, dang, I've looked up to this guy as like a digital media entrepreneur.
Awesome.
So I'm excited to meet with him and negotiate with him. He's gonna want that flat fee. I'm gonna go for a pay per CPA only, and we're gonna duke it out on Monday to see what we can do.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's
sick.
cool. That's really cool.
Anything else fun coming up for you guys? You got like work or non-work? Any summer plans? I know, Connor, you're obviously launching your sweepstakes in what, a week?
Yeah, we're in crunch time. I'm like,
Nice.
We got a lot going on right now. We launched a new wallet yesterday with an influencer, Wildcat, who's got like a couple million subscribers.
I saw
went
that.
well. Yeah, so we were super stoked on that. We launched NASA like 2 weeks ago. So NASA, Wildcat, sweepstakes next week. We've got a packed go-to-market calendar for August, September, October. So we've got a lot of work cut out for us. I'm super stoked on all that. As far as like travel and stuff, we've got in a leadership meetup. We're going to do a couple days out in LA with a bunch of the team, which I'm stoked for.
Nice. I thought you did a really nice job on your site of messaging both of these new product collections without them like competing. Do these have different levels of marketing investment?
Yeah, totally. NASA's a much bigger like marketing investment, largely because Wildcat is so creator dependent. So like his video is going to drive like the most volume. So it doesn't really make sense for us to do like a big homepage takeover.
Right.
We're getting hundreds of thousands of people there. They don't know who Tyler is. So they know who NASA is. So anyway, that's kind of how we're prioritizing it.
Yeah.
And we've got the hierarchy on the homepage that aligns with it.
So are you doing top of funnel like paid media for NASA, and then your top of funnel for Wildcat is just through Wildcat's organic audience?
We're going to see how the Wildcat video, we have everything ready to go. We've got we received his content a couple days early. So we've got cut downs of that. We've got our own static ads, but at launch, we're just focusing on 2 things. And this is kind of interesting. Well, he did an Instagram post. He did his YouTube integration went live like 5 p.m. EST yesterday. And then we made 30 custom Wildcat boxes that had like a bunch of his product, some other like Ridge goodies. And we sent it out to a bunch of his like friends and colleagues and stuff. So like a little bit of it's a part of the Ashton Wall playbook, product seeding with
product gift. Or wait, was it seeding or gifting? I think that'd be gifting.
Well, I
right?
guess Yeah. I guess it's gifting. Yeah. So we made it like a cool branded box. We're hoping people like share that. We get some organic buzz. So that's like the initial top of funnel approach, at least for the first couple of days. We'll reassess mid next week, and then we've got everything ready to go if we want to push our own kind of top of funnel live, because I'm sure we can still reach more we could reach more people that Wildcat is relevant to that we won't have hit with his content. So that's the tentative plan.
Yeah. And even if they don't know the artist, like I feel like the artwork
It's a cool
itself,
wallet.
Yeah, it's a cool wallet. And like that, like, I don't know, is it like anime? Is that how you would describe his artwork?
I don't know. It's very like it's this artist that he works with constantly. They do all of his thumbnails and stuff. But yeah, it's like anime, comic book, cartoon-esque. I wish I knew better, but graphic novel inspired, something like that.
Yeah, I love this landing page too. It's awesome. Or like the collection page that you guys have. Cody, what about you? Anything going on?
Yeah, I was supposed to be going to Greece next week, but we canceled it because of the surgery. So
dude,
next
brutal.
Next week will be next Monday will be a week. So just gearing up for that, trying to get everything ready. And my birthday is 10 days after that, so it'll be a pretty low key one. But now I'm just obviously excited about feeling better. So no travel. I think we'll try to plan something. I had to make it up to my wife a little bit. We're not going to do a Greece trip right now, but I got to see if we can do something September, like little long weekend getaway, maybe East Coast, just to try to make it up to her for now, and for being a great wife and being supportive. And then we just added a lot of new people, so it's just been heads down, really busy. They're doing great so far. It's super nice to have. It's super interesting because it's our team is growing and a lot more directors. So definitely want to chat about that sometime as we talk about team. But no, all good things. And we had a big launch this week. I was feeling really good about my forecasting. We were like 1% above or below for the month. And I feel pretty terrible about it because we just took off. I think we're like 50% above contribution margin right now. So obviously very clearly under forecasted. We bought as much as we could of this pallet, but we'll be out of them before the end of the month. So we were thinking they'd last a month, and now it'll be probably a week and a half. So that's one of those good kind of problems, but it's awesome to see in the summer. And so I think we feel really good about our just general like launch calendar now. Like we're doing these things that we wouldn't normally launch like other times, but it gives us stuff to do in the summer. It gives us these peak moments. And now that we know it, we can obviously buy pretty aggressively for next year. So I'm already looking ahead to that and already super excited about that.
I have a quick question on that. You've been talking about the pallets like crushing. That's fantastic. What did the process for projections look like for those? Like obviously they're this like, you guys know the miracle bombs. You do the same thing during the holiday sale where you do the mini bombs. Mm-hmm. Like like different variations of this product work really well. So when you're like, look, we're launching this palette, are you guys just guessing? Or like, are you surveying people and figuring out if there's going to be more or less demand?
It's a great question. So I don't do anything inventory related. Like I just do like revenue forecasting. Obviously it's got to be integrated, but so we have a demand planning team. So our demand planner will do that. We'll largely take, create a comp, something to compare it to.
Right.
So obviously, we'll look at historical growth and things like that. But yeah, we will definitely look at it. And what I'll say is, I think we're getting pretty good at doing the minis. Although we've probably only had maybe one Black Friday, one Memorial Day where we've had full inventory. But now I think we have enough to know what a slope of a weekend looks like, and also shade distribution. And I think the other thing is we're obviously growing pretty fast. We're up 50% over the year, but the lead times on these are 6 months plus. So we're a much different business then. And so the 65 as Connor, as you guys have seen, like from your suitcases, like we ordered the production max. We ordered 65K, which was the most that we were able to get in that time. So I don't know. I'd have to check if we would have actually ordered more. I think we actually had 30K initially, and I bumped that up to 60 because I thought they were going to be hot. But I think it was just that. It's just the insight we have is our minis do so well because new customers love them for trial, right? If they're not picking their shade, existing customers love them because they get to try other shades. One thing that's interesting, we actually see a different distribution of shades when we do a mini compared to a full size. Some of our like darker shades that actually work on everybody, but they don't necessarily look like they would. They do really well in stores when people get to try them, but I think people are a little hesitant to try them if they have like fair skin, and they do very well whenever we have like one of these things. And what'll be really interesting
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, now that we have a data analyst, like comparing like customers we're acquiring on this stuff and how they go on to, buy and repeat and buy full size. I'm very excited to kind of dig into some of that data as well.
So you're incentivizing experimentation more with the minis that people may not do at the full size.
Yeah, they're able to get, this one, it was a palette of 3 shades, so they're able to get 3 shades for pretty much the price of one. They get less product, significantly less product, but they're able to get 3 shades, and so they can try them. So if they're a repeat customer, they can say, repeat customers are buying either it's great for travel, some novelty, or they get to experiment with a few other shades. And then new customers are trying them because it's a low risk way to, try a few shades out.
Got it. I think we touched on something very briefly that is important with forecasting. Like forecasting, I think it can be very daunting. And it's certainly something that I have a lot of room to improve at, but you just got to choose a model and like ideally a few models that make sense and take your best swing at it. And then like you're kind of ultimately just triangulating across, however many models you think are relevant to the situation. Like I think early on I was like, I have no idea exactly how to be perfect here, but that's not really the point. It's just like choosing a comparable product launch or I don't know, offer launch and using that as the model, like using that data to route your forecasting for whatever you're forecasting. And yeah, that's something like you just got to take a bunch of swings at it and figure out which model makes the most sense, right?
Yeah, and just fine tuning it, and you get definitely better over time. And
Yep.
being intentional about where you're willing to miss, because most often you're not gonna hit your forecast. You're gonna miss one way or the other. And I think being, like knowing which way is a better miss for your business.
Yep.
I want to tell you why Ridge moved our customer support to Richpanel. Some SaaS providers are jacking up prices for the same piece of software that's barely changed over the years. I think it was Jason Lemkin on a podcast recently said software has gone from being software as a service to software as a ripoff, and I don't think that's ever been more true. And I think Richpanel is a rare exception to that rule. So we took a demo with Richpanel, found out they were way ahead of the competition in terms of AI and self-service capabilities. Their support platform is exactly what we needed and what I felt would become more modern tooling for the type of experience we wanted to provide for our customers. So when we found out that they can easily migrate our data and get us up and running in 2 weeks, it was a no-brainer, which is why we migrated and which is why brands like Thinx, Snow, Lashify, and 2,000 other brands have made the switch. If you are frustrated with random price hikes from your SaaS and want a trusted partner that can help you deliver awesome customer service, head to richpanel.com and book a demo today.
Cool. Well, that was a fun intro. We got a few topics today. We're gonna touch on Prime Day real quick. We briefly touched on it last week, but we want to do a little bit of a deeper dive and talk about some of the tactics and all that jazz. Then we're going to go more into some hiring, team building, management type conversations. Cody's been scaling his team out a bunch. I know Hexclad has a bunch of open positions that we're trying to hire for the end of the year. I assume Connor from Ridge is the same. So yeah, let's jump into it. First off, just overall Prime Day, we briefly touched on it. So Cody, correct me if I'm wrong, you're not on Amazon, right?
Correct. We got resellers, which we're starting to address, but now we're not on Amazon. So for us, it's usually a hit, and we're actually pretty low in those days. So I don't have too much to add, but definitely excited to hear how your guys went this year.
Do you do like a prime time offer? Or like, do you have any sort of prime branded offer on .com, or you just let it run?
We don't do anything. Yeah.
And so Connor, how'd you guys do this year?
Yeah. So, Prime Day was fine for us this year. Our focus has really been, we changed a couple things year over year. So historically, like if you look at last year or the previous, we'll use Prime Day on .com to move through over inventoried product. So we'll have like a prime time moment, but we'll largely discount like less popular SKUs or things that from an inventory perspective make more sense. This year we wanted to focus on cash flow. We wanted to drive more volume. So we did 2 things. We extended the sale. We actually ended up doing like a full 8 or 9 days. We started a couple days beforehand so that we could kind of scale ads into the key Prime days. And then we kept it running through the following weekend. And as a whole, I mean, we were up significantly. And the Sunday to end our primetime sales, what we called it, was like one of our best days in July ever. I mentioned this, but we did like 500K at a really efficient mark. So we completed .com completely differently, given like what our goals are and how they've changed this year. And then the second thing that we were focused on was how can we best leverage our own channels to drive volume on Amazon? I don't know if you guys have experimented with this. We haven't done a great job of like cross-channel coordination. We've got a massive email list, massive SMS list. How can we leverage that audience to like drive volume on Amazon on the days where it makes the most sense? So that was one of our key initiatives this year, driving email, SMS traffic to Amazon on the key Prime days. So we switched from driving to .com to driving to Amazon. And we drove more volume that way, and it ended up being super solid. I mean, we had an awesome Prime day last year, so really difficult numbers to comp, but solid growth. It was like above our expectations, and I think it really required like a much more comprehensive strategy.
Yeah, nice. We almost spot on hit our projections for Prime Day. I was actually kind of bearish on them coming into it, and then I saw it coming to life. But I wanna revisit the .com to Amazon push, because we did a lot of that this year as well, and that was a big change last year. But before that, we also had a much more coordinated effort this year, whereas last year it was, in my opinion, it had a little more friction because it was a little more confusing to like understand, hey, why would I go buy on .com versus Amazon? So this year, that was my big thing. Last year, I wasn't as involved with the Amazon business. It was really just wrapping my head around the .com and making sure we were, moving along as planned there. This year, we have a much better integration from a marketing POV with Amazon. So that was my big thing, is like, I just want it to be crystal clear, like what you're going to .com for versus what you're going to Amazon for. So the way that we looked at the division was, if you're going to go buy a big bundle that's, basically our 6-piece set or higher, if you want to spend $400 or more, that's where you go to .com. So 12-piece set, 6-piece set, and then a $1,000 bundle and a $1,400 bundle. And then on Amazon, it was more or less 20% off site wide with, the lightning deals and all the different like blitz deals. And the reason we did that is because we know that we typically get higher AOV on .com, and we want that person in our .com. We want to own that data. Amazon's a much lower order value marketplace for us. So that was our big thing this year, is like, let's make the offer super complimentary and have there be absolutely no friction in the sense of knowing where to get what. And then we strategically placed, we did a bunch of email SMS, but we also had some strategic website placements kind of with that in mind that we can talk about. So do you guys have totally different offers between the two? Are they the same? How do you look at that?
No, you need better prices on Amazon in order to like maintain the buy box and things like that. So they were slightly lower on Amazon in certain instances, but by and large, similar offers on both. But I really like your strategy. Do you guys have do you have Amazon listings built out for the bundles? Is it even possible for someone to get that, like, whatever it is, $800 savings on the $1,400 set?
For that, no.
Right.
So we did have, the only thing that was like somewhat competing is the 6-piece set, because that's like, the 6-piece set is the highest bundle, like as an individual SKU we offer on Amazon. On Amazon, it was just straight up % off. On .com, it was 6-piece set plus gift with purchase, because we don't do any straight dollars off on those core bundles until BFCM. We save that offer for the end of the year. You can do virtual bundles on Amazon that like basically could get you the same price as our evergreen price on the 12-piece set, but it's obviously like an added step. But no, those like $1,000 bundles, those $1,400 bundles, and the $1,400 bundles, like, $850 off of like the individual retail products added together. You cannot get that on Amazon. So it's pretty clear, if you want to like kit your whole kitchen out and do huge savings, like go to .com and buy there.
Totally. That makes total sense. And then you said strategic links on hexclad.com driving to Amazon. I'm super curious about that.
Yeah, so let me do some quick math here. We saw like 500, let's see. 1, 2, 2. So we saw, and this is probably underreported, because so we use those Amazon attribution links. I imagine you guys were using those. So basically, out of our total revenue we did across .com and Amazon during the 2 days of Prime, about 6% was attributed to those Amazon Prime links. Again, I assume that's underreported, knowing that like you're getting a kickback on that revenue. So basically our pushes were, we had 2 website pushes. It was at the bottom of the bundles collection page. So like you had to, if you scrolled all the way past all the bundles, we had some copy that was like, you know, not interested in sets, like go check out our individual product offers at Amazon.com. We had a little, the Amazon Prime branding that you were allowed to use for the CTA. So that was one push. The other push, which performed much better than that push, was an exit intent pop-up. So same thing, like, hey, we send most of our traffic to that collection. If I forget what the exact logic was, but basically if you're going to leave after you've seen those products, we had a nice, Amazon branded pop-up that was driving you to that. That was, I think I have a screenshot in our doc. That was, let's see here. Yeah, the web exit intent that had more revenue attributed to it than our emails did. Which was interesting.
That's crazy.
And then we did
Wow.
we had like 9,600 click-throughs from that exit intent pop-up. And then we just did email SMS to the relevant segments. If you had bought the 12-piece set or 6-piece set, we pushed all that traffic to Amazon. We still let them know about our .com offers in case they want to like buy a gift for someone or whatever. But the only thing I would change is, it's hard for me. I think it was a good move, seeing the link, seeing the data, but I think in retrospect, I would have maybe split test it and see like if the lift on .com was still less than what we saw in the Amazon attribution link. Still, because it's hard to tell if we would have seen
how incremental
that.
it is. Right.
Exactly. Like, would we have seen that 550,000 come through .com? If we didn't run these? I don't know. Like I feel confident in it because I thought it was a good funnel and it felt like low friction. It felt intuitive, but that's the only thing I would change. But it's, it's a 2-day sale. So it's also kind of
Totally.
hard. And it also takes forever for Amazon to pass back their data. It's like a 48-hour lag. I'm like sitting here like refreshing, like what the hell? We're not doing any click-throughs on these. Like that's crazy. And then I just learned from our Amazon channel manager, Justin. It's like, no, it just takes forever. So yeah, that was fun actually. I enjoyed it because this was some net new builds for our sale periods, and I thought
awesome.
Yeah,
it sounds like a really good experience.
How are you pushing to Amazon?
We've experimented with a couple things. This year we just did the email and SMS campaigns driving to Amazon. We didn't drive any .com traffic to Amazon. We had very similar sales. In the past, we've experimented, and I, in theory, really like this idea of like basically 2 add to cart buttons on the PDP. And what we were doing is we were testing it during when we were getting closer to a shipping cutoff. So if it's Father's Day, if it's Q4, when you're getting like really towards that shipping cutoff, giving people the option of purchasing on Amazon, we at least saw a lot of success with. It was like, it's really hard, the attribution and like ensuring that you're not like just convoluting the shopping process or ensuring that you're driving incremental revenue. It's also way more prominent than what you described. What you described sounded very thoughtful. The exit intent's great. And then I think the bottom of collections pages is one of the more like underutilized space. That's such an interesting user who's scrolled past everything that you have there at the bottom of the site. It's almost like you need to offer them something net new. We highlight how it works. We're like, typically people have scrolled past enough wallets. They haven't found what they wanted. They actually want like a different form of content. Anyway, I think your guys' implementation is really thoughtful. Ours was much simpler this year.
Yeah, it was. We do that tactic every sale actually, because every sale we have a batch of offers that we push for acquisition, and then we have an offer or a batch of offers that we push to previous buyers. So we do the same thing like during any other sale where we're not pushing to Amazon. We still have that CTA at the bottom of the page that's saying like, hey, if you're more interested in individual products, like go like check out this collection. We do a lot of like buy more, save more on build your own bundle orders. So we'll also like redirect to that. So and the reason I was confident in it is because the heat map, it like people engage with it. It's not a ton because it's way down at the bottom, but it's like a pretty significant chunk of folks that are actually clicking on that CTA and going to check out the other offers. So we've spent a lot of time thinking about that in the last year. Like how are we rolling out offers that appeal to like non like prospects versus versus previous buyers, and then how do you make the information flow make sense so it's not confusing to each group of people.
Yeah, that's awesome. So given Prime Day this year, I think you mentioned some of these things, but what are you thinking about for next year? Is there anything you're taking away, like this worked really well, or I'd like to implement this new thing?
You know, I thought I liked that. I liked how we had the I really do like how we had those .com CTAs. I always like having a .com offer too, because anytime I can get someone to buy on our core website, I want that to happen. Off the top of my head, not really. I think just an overall, you know, more so just evergreen tightening up of how I still have a lot of thoughts on how we can improve our sale website build, but not, that's more just like a applicable to all sales. I'm actually planning to do like an audit here probably before we launch our Labor Day sale, so we can go into BFCM we did a lot of post-click testing on our core website with how we message sales last year, but we've kind of paused on that because we felt like we were in a good spot. I want to do call it one more batch of big swings for Labor Day, hopefully, so we can go into BFCM with an even more optimized sale build on our site. But one thing I just am unsure of, and I'm very curious your guys' thoughts. I tweeted about this because I wanted to see what other people thought. Our Amazon MER, our media efficiency ratio, was 10x on I think it was the first day of Prime Day when I tweeted this. I was wondering, how much Amazon revenue do you think we would have seen if we spent no money on Amazon ads that day? And I got a bunch of different responses. Some people were like, you would have seen 15% of the revenue you saw. Others were like, you would have seen 85%. And I have a what I think is true, but I'm curious if you guys have any thoughts on that kind of like incrementality thought exercise.
I've never done Amazon, so I am just gonna sit this one out.
But it's the same as like you could argue the same of like a launch day on your .com, right? Like if we spent no money on prospecting the day of a sale launch, or maybe we just spent like a small budget on remarketing, like how much of a revenue drop would you see?
I think the big distinction is 10x MER. So like you made $100, you spent 10. How many of those went to like non-branded or category bidding, or is it largely brand?
We don't do a lot. I will say I'm not 100% sure. I don't man it the way we have our Amazon team set up is Justin Kim is our like marketplace manager. He handles all thing ops, like physical and digital ops. Cam Bush is our head of advertising. He manages the Amazon ads agency that I think you guys actually introduced us to. We did like totally rehaul our Amazon ad strategy like a year ago, where the people that were running it, I don't think were great. And they were doing a lot of brand, bidding and reporting huge numbers. However, so I don't know if we maybe switched over. I'm assuming we did switch a little of that budget to brand on the day of. So not 100%.
But let's call
sure,
it,
though.
yeah. Let's call it, 50-50 maybe. I bet you do a lot of that revenue without spending in my example, $5 on non-brand. If you don't spend that, you probably end up doing, what was my example? You do $80. Yeah. At best, I think that category bidding is getting you like maybe a 4x. That would be my guess.
I think I 100% agree. I think we do 80% at least of our revenue on that day if we don't spend. But and I was thinking about that, and I'm like, but I don't care that we spent, because what are we ultimately doing? Even if we're just continuing to do what we always do, which is build our funnel. So there's no different to the money we spent on that day. It's not like it was a waste. No, we're just going to convert that traffic at a later period probably. So
it also goes back to like you highlighted this earlier. It's a 2-day sale. Like it's really hard. It's really hard. Like if this were your evergreen strategy, it's like, okay, let's figure out how incremental that like $5 is. But for 2 days, when you guys are doing multi 7 figures, like, I don't know. Yeah, you spend it and you're at a 10x blended MER. It's not like you're at a 2.5x MER or something.
Yeah.
It's like a really small percentage of total revenue. It's a really short, really high volume period. It's like, that's not where I'd want to spend all my time and attention. There's like bigger fish to fry, I think.
Yeah, and there's so many variables, so there's really no way to test or know. So one of the buzzwords this year is incrementality. Last year was all about attribution. This year is all about incrementality. And I think that's a great thing because we are all trying to grow our businesses profitably. And we want to make sure that the spend that we are putting out into market is actually is working for us. So I know that we are all Haus customers, and you guys have sought out Haus this year. What led you guys to do that? We'll start with Ridge.
For us, it's all about new channels. We're in the business of reaching net new male audiences. So when we're launching across Pinterest, Twitter, Snapchat, Live Intent, etc., we use Haus to measure the total impact of those new channel experiments.
That's awesome. How about HexCloud? What are you guys looking at?
Definitely the new channels as we roll those out, but because we already had such a diversified marketing mix in terms of channels and we were already spending at pretty high levels prior to onboarding Haus, the first batch of testing is just for us to find those optimal spend levels with our existing marketing stack and then comparing those to one another to kind of see within our existing marketing stack, where should we bring spend down, where should we bring spend up, and really using that incremental ROAS, that incremental CAC number to inform how we move those budgets up and down.
I love that. Yeah. And for us, the same. We've definitely tested new channels, but we've also calibrated spend on existing channels. We've saved 6 figures a month just by not running brand search because we've ran multiple tests and it's not incremental. So I know for all of us, it's had a huge impact and we love it and we couldn't live without it at this point. And so if you want to be like us and want to add scientific rigor to your marketing stack, I recommend you go to haus.io/operators. That's haus.io/operators to get a demo today.
Cam, I forget the podcast. It was like the DTC show. And they were talking about like managing a budget when you're at like a mid-9-figure brand like us now. He's like, you keep spending. Like you have a budget and you keep spending and you keep filling the top of the funnel. You don't do this like, and this isn't necessarily a bad tactic depending on the size, but like you don't do this more like day tradey approach of like, we're going to be spending $10K a day for 10 days and then we're going to kill it for 3 and then we're going to ramp back up to 10. Like, you don't really do that. Like we got to spend our money. If we don't, we are going to dry out our top of funnel. And that's just how you keep scaling and you keep seeing revenue grow.
So you guys aren't running on cost caps.
We are not running. We've tried them, but like in my research, it seems so absolutely not. Cause yeah, we are very much in the let's scale top line game right now. I'm curious if you guys do cost caps. And then we can go into the hiring portion of this after this. But everything I've heard about cost caps is it's kind of like an all or nothing or bid caps. Like you have to have your entire account shifted over to the manual entries or else the strategy doesn't like work as well. I remember when I was hands-on keyboard buying like a couple years ago for like licorice.com and pretzels.com. Like we did a lot of bid caps and cost caps at that like $50 to $65 AOV. And it worked really well. Those are some of the most efficient campaigns and they had really good volume as well. But like when I don't know, do you guys do them? And what's like, do you have to be all or nothing? It's been a minute since I've been inside an ad account that like really leans on those. But I will say I talked to this founder in Denver. He has this company called Feels. His name's Drew Todd. Awesome business, awesome guy. They're fully bid cap. And he's like, dude, we're too profitable. Like I want to move top line, but like we just can't get it to spend. And I'm like, open up a new ad account to spend on lowest cost. Tell your media buyer just to spend into a blended CAC, and that's your solution. But he like can't get it to spend anymore, and he really wants it to. Even
if he just goes super high, I'm not saying you have to do it. Even if he goes super high with bids.
That's a good question. I don't know if he's like walked up his bids because I think he's worried about losing the efficiency in his core campaigns.
Yeah, but if he's saying he's too profitable.
I do get that though.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, just in theory, we don't use cost caps or bid caps all that much. We're way more like lowest cost style bidding. But I would worry if I had really efficient campaigns running on bid caps that if I just increase them, that I would just be blending down my results. That would be my concern. I like you're right. Separate ad account, max conversions or whatever is like
that's what he's doing.
An interesting approach. Yeah,
I've been talking about it with him. Because what I initially said was like just launch a new campaign and put it at lowest cost. But then what happened is like it just spent less in the bid caps because it's like I have this lowest cost campaign.
There's a total amount of demand and volume available.
Exactly.
So
I'm like,
dude,
yeah.
Well, I don't know how much like I see that behavior way more in Google. Google is the biggest culprit of like wherever you will spend more dollars, it will like shift that, and we'll see spend move between campaigns if we like if a target CPA gets like adjusted up here, and they're the biggest culprits in like you can have a really efficient target CPA. You can be like quote unquote too profitable, and you can increase that target CPA and it'll just like increase your CPC. It'll be like, all right, we'll just charge you 30% more for the exact same click. You're not driving even incremental users sometimes. It's absolutely crazy. So yeah, it's really tricky. I like your recommendation to him. I'd be nervous about just increasing bid caps.
Yeah. I also said they're ready for channel expansion too. Like they're a 8-figure brand. Like I think some well-produced, I don't think they're like one of those like microdosed THC gummies, like 1.5. So I don't think they can advertise on YouTube, but like they are so ready for CTV. They're so ready for linear TV, assuming they have like, good brand marketing content that's still DR enough. I think that's what's going to be ultimately the biggest scale unlock for him.
Yeah. So we used to use them very heavily, bid caps. I don't have strong opinions. I'm not religious about it. I love them in theory. What I loved about it is, you don't have to try to guess. You don't have to make the manual decisions, but Meta will do it for you. Especially something like a launch. Like, Black Friday, we're probably going to spend, you guys probably will too, like spend like 7 figures on a day. I'm not quite as confident, of launching that on the lowest cost. At least now, maybe because to your point about forecasting, maybe I am because we've done it before. But that's what I love is we used to do that, that ABS I think ABS approach, but like super high budget, but you're controlling spend with that. And that did really well for us for a while. So, but we had lowest cost as well. We probably had like 60% of our spend on bid caps. And then the rest, we had a bunch of ASC lowest cost and manual lowest cost, and we would just toggle spend between them. So it seemed to work. Granted, we also have top of funnel other places. For whatever reason, February, March, all that mess, not only did it stop working, I was less confident in it. We had big overspend days where there was miscalibrations. We also switched to a new customer event with Blotout, and that was more efficient, but because it's a custom conversion, it kind of killed all manual bidding for us. So in general, for whatever reason in our account, bid caps just stopped working. We tested cost caps, just was nowhere near as efficient, even with like a really low bid. So clearly there was something going on with the algorithm or the product where it wasn't working. And then we're just not able to get it to spend on the custom conversion. So we haven't ran them. The last time we ran it was just for Memorial Day weekend. And I'll probably do the same for Black Friday. I don't know about for some of our other launches collections. But yeah, I've heard that where you kind of have to go all in. I didn't find that to be the case. But to me, it's just do whatever the ad account likes. But overall, I agree with you. And I was just, by the way, I just started this conversation more as a joke because you're talking about like day trading approach. I totally agree. When you get to a certain size, especially top of funnel, obviously you can debate where Meta fits in that funnel. But it's probably better to just have, kind of like constantly seeding the market, like a farming approach to top of funnel. And then maybe lower mid funnel channels, you can kind of toggle spend back and forth.
We might have to have one of the, like, who are the big cost cap, bid cap people right now? Andrew Ferris, I think Ash from Avi likes them. Maybe we'll have one of the manual bid experts on, and we can have a bid cap, cost cap show. Everyone's favorite topic.
What I want to know, what hasn't ever been clear to me is like, what's the largest brand that's purely on manual bids? I think that's what I haven't, heard, but it doesn't seem like, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe, CTC's got some of them, but it doesn't seem like, at least I haven't come across, very large brands that are purely on manual bids. And I don't know if you can.
It's just a business goal thing, right? Like I remember you read about like the Power 5 and all this, like, and it seems intuitive, but Facebook would always say, optimize your campaigns based on your business objectives, which is their way of saying, if you want someone to purchase, you probably shouldn't optimize for an add to cart, because we will find someone that will add to cart at a higher rate or a lower cost per add to cart, but they won't necessarily purchase. I think it's the same thing with, cost caps, bid caps, lowest cost. I mean, it depends on if you're really focused on scaling top line revenue and new customers versus, maintaining efficient. I could be wrong. I know I've seen people on Twitter say like, that's not true. You can scale top line with big manual bids. I don't know. We don't use them. So I can't speak to that, but I do think it depends on, like, generally speaking, what are you I mean, everyone's on the spectrum of like, all we give a shit about is top line growth at all costs, or all we care about is, not going over this blended CAC. So you're somewhere on that spectrum, and that probably is an important thing to know if you're going to use them or not. All right, should we shift gears?
Fair.
I was gonna make fun of us actually quickly. Some comment about all roads leading back to Facebook today.
I was kind of thinking about it. I turned an Amazon conversation into a Facebook media buying.
You were like, wait, but what do we optimize for?
We can't help ourselves.
You can take. I was gonna say something like you can take like the media, like the guy out of media buying, but you can't take the media buying out of the guy. Something like that.
All right, so we're gonna shift gears. We're gonna talk hiring, team building, management, like meeting structure. I know I spend a ton of time thinking about this. Connor and Cody, we're always texting about team building, how we're working with our direct reports and the team as a whole. So I thought we could kick off with Cody, because Cody just made a bunch of new hires. So Cody, I have a series of questions, 3 questions that I would love to. I'm going to hit them right one after another because they're all related, and I would love to hear your thoughts. So the most broad question, why did you hire them? And then a little more specifically, what were you doing that these new hires will now do? And then what will you now be able to do that you weren't currently doing, or maybe not doing as much or as well as you wanted, because these new hires are taking those things off your plate? If you want to I know you just hired like 4 or 5. So if you just want to start with one, I think that'd be interesting to hear, like tactically and like specifically the tasks and the roles.
Yeah, and just give me the first question.
Yeah, so why did you hire them? And then what were you doing that they will now do?
Okay. So we hired about probably 6 weeks ago, director of growth. So the first time we've had a director of growth. We hired a director or a senior manager of data. First data hire that we've had. We had director of retention, I'd say first real director of retention that we've had, and director of ecom, first director of ecom we've had. So director of growth, we had like a growth manager before. So director of growth is a replacement, but first time having director level there. So I would say, I was just overworked and burnt out and staying up until 10 working every night. And not ideal, not good for my health, my mental health, but also not really great for the company either, just very hands-on keys. And so A, I was doing a lot, but B, it's like, you can't do as well. Obviously you can't expand. And so like, there's a lot of things that, I'm very excited to be able to do and do properly that now that we have time, but that's kind of it. I just looked around we had these like planned and budgeted for the year. Like we try to be very disciplined with our payroll as a percent of revenue, and we will fluctuate or kind of, decide on our recruitment plans, like as we go throughout the year based on how that's pacing. But yeah, we had these plans, and just my goal is, to have a director of every department, every like sub department, every team, because we didn't have that. We just grew so quickly without that. So that's the goal. And hopefully that's first question.
Yeah,
I answer that, and then we can go.
Yeah, I want to know what you were staying up till 10 every night doing that you won't have to do anymore.
Yeah, it's great. I also got so here we have chief of staff. I have an assistant as well, so that's been super helpful. Just like all of the administrative things. But yeah, it's just a lot because growth is my background. Still very, very involved in growth and will-be. But I have all of marketing. I've got creative that reports to me. I've got retail, definitely involved in like people ops side. And then, we don't have like a typical structure. So like I play like some like CFO functions. Like I do our overall forecasting and set the P&L. So got my hands on a lot of things. So if I'm going to be doing that, I just need, I need bandwidth. I need help, and I need to be able to delegate a lot of the things. So a lot more like any like process management. Like I still am probably involved in the idea phase of all of those departments, but actually, nitty gritty, getting a lot of it done. I'm much more removed from now.
That's great. I think that's how I've come to see my role and like, this is a struggle for me because I came from like hands-on keyboard, a lot of doing, and just realizing I couldn't do that anymore. It wasn't going to work. So I always look at it as like, someone told me it was like 10%, 80%, 10%. Like in my role, I should be involved in
That was me.
Oh, was that you? Oh, you told me that. I couldn't remember. I have a mentor right now I'm working with. I couldn't remember, but I thought that was a great way that's a great constraint. Like you should be involved in like a specific example recently for us. Like we just totally overhauled our post-purchase cross-sell flow, like the main one that everyone gets pumped into. So my role was like 10% for me. It was like auditing the existing, which we also built out last year, and I was more involved in because we didn't have all the pieces in place yet. But this year, now that we have a director of retention, retention manager, full-time copywriter, email designer, my 10% was just auditing it and like getting all my notes out and briefing them on it. And then the last 10% was just coming in and giving feedback and like the final revisions. And now it's basically ready to go and we're going to launch it. But like that 80% was the director of retention driving those edits forward with the retention manager, the email designer. I think that was a really helpful constraint for me to actually like think about it in a boiled down way like that.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear. No, I love that for you. That's kind of the goal. It's such a change. I think, that was your third question. Like, what will my role be looking like now? It's so different. Like, I'm still onboarding, a bunch of them, and I'm trying to be as thorough as I can with onboarding. I would love to do like a hiring, like a recruitment process, and then onboarding, like whole episode one time if you guys are down, because I feel like there's a lot to dive into there. Just like make sure you're, hiring the right people, setting them up for success. Just got a lot of learnings there, and I'm sure you guys do as well. So there's just a lot of that now, trying to get them acclimated to the culture. So I'm still in a ton of meetings, just meeting with them, still getting them onboarded. I don't know, like hopefully I will be in less meetings. That's the goal, but I am finding myself with glimpses of time now. And because I don't really have like a producing role at the company, I'm kind of, managing and leading these other people. I will find myself with like a pocket of time in an hour. And usually it's like used to always be having something to do, have to check an ad account, having to check a Slack, where occasionally I'm like, all right, what am I supposed to be doing? Like, it's kind of like a weird feeling. I don't know if you guys have experienced that or felt that at any point, but it's not like I have like enough time to like totally dive into something or build out new strategy. So kind of to answer your last question, like that hasn't happened yet where I really have enough time to breathe and sit back and think of like what's upcoming for us, what's like biggest. To me, that's like what I do on the weekends, or I'll like think about like on a walk, or I'll listen to a podcast. So I don't have like sitting time yet, but I'm hopefully we'll get there soon. I don't know if you guys are at that spot yet.
Yeah, Connor.
I am so far from that spot.
Me too. Yeah, me too.
No. We're hiring right now for a creative director and a CX director. Because for the last like 2 months, basically, I'm like really in the weeds, like across the board. So
like, I have like more than normal right now because always. Yeah.
No, we had some turnover in the leadership that sat over the creative team. So like over the past 2.5 months, I've been helping like just with all those processes, like mood boarding, studio management. I was at we had a model come in yesterday at our studio here in Salt Lake City. I was there for that, so I could give some real-time feedback. We're like missing a really key leadership position that I think we're just a couple weeks out from hiring, so I'm excited about that. But I've unfortunately taken on like a bunch of very net new functions over the last couple months. So all of my like sitting and thinking or like longer term planning stuff is like early Saturday mornings, early Sunday mornings, stuff like that.
Nice. Yeah. And I don't know if how you guys think about it. I think a lot of it is, I think about like hiring people to carry out existing functions. Like hopefully business as usual can run day to day without me. Right. So it means, train people on exactly how we do media buying, how we do, a lot of these things that have to happen. And then hopefully I can then be freed up to go and lead the charge on a net new channel. And it might not mean that I am actually hands on keys buying it or something like that, but at least doing discoverability, doing strategy, setting budget for that. I might not be the one who's actually executing any of it, but if we're about to test a lot more direct mail, or we're going to test some other channels coming up, spending the time talking to other people, seeing what seems to be working. So I guess more of like a new like expansion strategy, if that makes sense.
That is, yeah. Go ahead, Connor.
Well, I was going to say, that's how I think about it also. Like, it's business as usual. I describe it as like foundationally, how good are we? Like that. And those are things that in theory, like I can be very uninvolved in, and we're going to do like the blocking and tackling, and like an ongoing refinement is another thing I've tried to instill in the team. Like, what are the expectations around directors identifying areas of opportunity, planning into those, executing on them, reflecting them, and then that becoming a part of this like foundational process. So that's where we spent a ton of time, largely because we're launching so much more year over year. 3 categories. I just mentioned over the course of a month, we'll have launched NASA, Wildcat, we'll have had a Prime Day, and we'll launch sweepstakes. So it's like foundationally, we need to be so much stronger. And I've spent a lot of time working with teams to help build that foundation, as well as this turnover. So now I'm like directly managing like really key pieces of the workflows. So I love Cody's vision where it's like, yeah, that should get set, and that should be like a self-sustaining system. And then I can spend more time with these like net new functions, whether that's like direct
we've
mail
like
users,
switched. We've like switched because usually I'm in your position where it's like we got turnover, I'm diving in, or we just hadn't have it. And I don't know, but I feel like usually you're more of like you can focus on the growth. So flopped a little bit, but hopefully you'll get back and get those key people added.
Yeah, it's also like we're shifting from a time where like we were so growth led, like purely growth led. Like we didn't even do a lot of product development or product launches or category expansions. Like our whole team was built around selling like black gunmetal and carbon fiber wallets. Now we're doing all of these new launches. So actually the key workflows are just different. They're like more own channels. It's more creative based. It's more like, what are the systems so that we can update our site, like so that it looks great and it's a sustainable process. So it's like a completely different system of support for all of our launches versus like, yeah, previously, I feel really good about our growth team right now. Like that is one of the things that BAU is like well managed on a day-to-day basis. And it's really just been around the foundation of all these, this like much more congested, marketing calendar.
I look at it, I've thought of it for the last like few months as innovation then delegation. Like I think where people in our roles need to be more hands-on keyboard is the net new things we're doing. Like that's what I'm doing right now with the sweepstakes. Like I'm very in the weeds. I'm writing all the website briefs. I'm like working with our team on creative concepting, going to work with our head of content on getting a shot list together. But next year, once we've done it once and we have a lot of the assets built out, I'm going to hope to be less involved. So then I can go focus on, or be less involved on like the portions we already built, and then more so think through like, like what's the things we didn't do as well of last year that we could have done, that we could do better this year. So maybe it's like entries awareness on site. Like maybe I can go and be more hands-on keyboard and improving that component, but then everything else I can be like, all right, like website team, these things are going to be the same as last year, more or less. Like, hey, paid team, these things are going to be roughly the same. Like I don't necessarily need to be as involved. I trust you guys to do it. That's not always the case. Sometimes I will just completely delegate like a net new growth initiative to the team and just check in. Like we're doing a bunch of like we're getting out of home ready. We're working with Incremental Media on doing package inserts for other like adjacent brands. And Cam Bush is totally rolling with that and crushing it. And I'll just check in on like, all right, like tell me when you have a creative to show me, or tell me when you have like a vendor that you think is going to be the best vendor for us. So it's a mixed bag too, depending on like strength of team. Some of those things you can confident, and like that's what you'll probably be able to do more of now, Cody, is like maybe it is somewhat net new, but you trust your director of growth to like really drive it forward and just fill you in at the checkpoints.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. No, we're just about to kick off a new channel. It's, we decided to do it. He's running with it, doing all the setup, and it's just, checking in on where we're at. So that's kind of, what our strategy has been. So hopefully we'll get to do more.
So we use Prescient at a Hexclad. It's used by other top brands like Good American, Symbiotica, Timbuktu, Nude, and dozens more. Prescient AI, helping brands scale spend confidently with AI-powered marketing mix models. If you want to check out Prescient AI, head to prescient-ai.io/operators. That is PRESCIENT n-ai.io/operators.
So question for you guys, more on like the kind of just like ops team stuff. Like what are the recurring meetings that you guys do? Do you guys have, because I'm as our team grows, like that's another thing I want to restructure a little bit. What are like the marketing team meetings that you guys do that happen every week? Do you have a whole team meetings? Do you have just by channels? Very, very curious about that.
Yeah. You want to go?
My like,
Connor?
Oh, yeah, I'll start because mine's pretty short, or I'll keep it short and then we could go from there. But like our key meetings, we have marketing all hands on Monday where we're reviewing the previous week's performance. This is when I would hand off or discuss any like marketing summaries for future launches and address any like short-term goals or things like that. Then we have a Thursday go-to-market meeting where we're getting channel updates by channel, email, web, creative, paid social, performance creative. All of those people are discussing like, what are their deliverables? Where are we at? We have like a Figma board where everybody's dropping all of their assets. So we're walking through all of that for some upcoming campaign. And we try to have those 2 weeks out before. We're currently at 2 weeks out. I'd love to get it longer, but 2 weeks from a campaign, we're doing a go-to-market review. So that's way more, I think of it as like bottoms up, where we're hearing directly from channel managers. We're looking at work. We're making sure that what we're delivering is like a cohesive experience. So those are the main two. And then I'll do one-on-ones with all the directors each week. So those are like kind of the key ways that I communicate with the team, and we communicate kind of cross-departmentally.
Interesting. Okay. Like that a lot. So one, backwards looking, are people saying like, hey, we were under, here's what I'm going to do this week to, like on that Monday meeting, here's what I'm going to do this week to test or try to improve.
We're looking at year-over-year growth. We're looking at where we are to projections. We can look at like cost per email sign up. We're looking at paid social channel performance. All of that gets done early Monday, and we can review in that marketing all hands. And then I'll also lay out like my priorities if there's something that is like an issue or we should be more concerned about in the short term. So that's like kind of a top-down approach, more data-driven, more metrics-driven, and then go-to-market's bottoms up. Let's review all the work that's getting delivered for upcoming campaigns.
And what's the benefit of that go-to-market one? Like, are people kind of, is it to collaborate with other teams? Is it for visibility? Is it like sharing roadblocks? Like what do you get out of that one?
I would say all of those things really. It's we're seeing like cross-channel visibility. So we're seeing like things that we like or dislike, things that aren't working together. If there are questions, we'll address them there. That's why we do it 2 weeks out. It's not like we don't exit that meeting typically and say like, this is absolutely perfect, we could launch it today. There's like things we need to fine tune or follow up with. So it's like halfway between a workshop and a sign off, I would say, because we're pretty far down the pipeline. Like things are like pages are developed, emails are developed, ads are developed. We're just in like the last 10% dialing in. When
I
it
like
comes
that.
to
We kind of just do that stuff async. I don't know. I'm usually not a big meeting guy, but I go back and forth. But I wonder if it's just more productive and efficient to do that all together.
We used to do it async too, and I just think the go-to-markets in theory could be done async. Everybody put it on the board. I'll review it. If there are notes, we'll send it off. But like, I also think there's value in just like hearing channel strategies, what we're doing, what we're trying, seeing across the board, hearing people speak to it. They're pretty efficient too. I mean, these are like typically 30-minute meetings or something, 40-minute meetings. It's not a ton of time. And it like each channel update for a campaign is like 1 or 2 minutes. Like we'll run through a whole campaign really quickly. So it's not like we're lollygagging or anything like that. So they're pretty methodical, I would say.
Awesome. Love that. How about you guys?
Well, on that note, real quick, I've been pushing our team to like really to think through these things and with two lenses. From like on one end of the spectrum, you just have like a pure status update. On the other end of the spectrum, you have like something that requires collaboration. And I think it's really hard to collaborate on certain things async. I think it's easier to do it live. Mm-hmm. Like we don't need our director of ops to join a call to tell the owner of the meeting like when they think, like what's the most recent update on when you think product's going to hit the warehouse, or our head of web's most biggest update or most recent update on when the product page is going to be ready. Like that does not require a meeting. That's a waste of time. That should be an async update. Other things where it's like, hey, we've boiled the product name down to these 3 options. Like we want to talk about this for like 5-10 minutes and kind of try to arrive at a conclusion. Or hey, like we have this like product page section designed for the new aprons. Like, what do you guys think about this? Like, do you like it? Could it be improved? Like those are the things that I think meetings are really helpful for. And so we do that like product innovation like every 2 weeks. We do a growth team all hands once a week, every other week actually now, where that's like a performance update. We're talking about everyone's prios for the week, which I think is super valuable just to let other teams hear what everyone else is working on, anything you're blocked on, or a problem you're having, and we can like work through that together. And then also like, is there anything you need from leadership? Because that's when Jason joins. And I'm kind of moderating that meeting, but it's like, hey, if you've been blocked on by Jason for something, like now's your time. And Jason's our president. Now's your time to tell him, because he's here and he's busy. So you might not get an answer from him if you don't tell him right now. So, and then I meet with one-on-ones, mostly weekly, some bi-weekly, and those are basically like same thing. Like we have fairly clear, like I have very clear expectations of everyone that reports into me and the teams on like the projects they need to get done for the quarter. and the KPIs they're held accountable to. So it's basically like status updates. How are we pacing against these key results? And then status updates. How are we doing on the key initiatives? And then same thing, like, is there anything that you would like to collaborate with me on? And then we'll spend most of our time collaborating. Or like, hey, our key result of hitting 5 million impressions and aprons from product seeding, like we're only 15% of the way there, but we're 1/3 of the way through the quarter. Like, okay, we need to think through, like, what are we doing now and how do we change it to make that number look better? Is there any context that's going to make that backloaded? Like, those are the conversations we're having in like weekly one-on-ones. And then there's usually action items that come out for the team. It's like, all right, let's go seed double the aprons, or let's seed an apron with everybody we seed with. And like, we have some follow-ups to make sure we're, making changes based on how we're pacing against key results.
Yeah, totally. So I do have one question. You gave an example about the PDP photos. Maybe you were like, hey, this is what we're thinking for PDP photos. Let's discuss it. Would that be like, how many people do you imagine being in a meeting where you want to have like that granular of a discussion?
So that's the problem with the current setup, is like, we'll have people like our director of ops there who literally only needs to answer that one question. But then that conversation probably only needs to happen between me, our director of product development, probably our lead designer, and our head of website, right? So that's like where we're still very inefficient with that. Is like, I would love it if everyone who was only needed for, I want the agenda to be sent out, because we do these on Mondays. I want the agenda to be sent out on like a Thursday or Friday, and have it be broken into like async updates, just like pop in and put your answer here, versus like need you to join the meeting. Because right now everyone's joining the meeting, and it's just like the most expensive call in the world. If you think about like, we use that terminology a lot, right? Like, this is an expensive call. You have our head of growth here, our head of ads here, our head of content here, our chief brand, you know what I mean? Like, that's an expensive call.
That's what kills me about our all hands. Like, as we do a monthly, like all company all hands, and I think that's valuable. But our marketing, all hands, now that we're getting up, 15 something people. It just feels like there's a lot of people who maybe it's helpful for visibility, but they don't necessarily have a role. And so I'm considering making it like a directors only meeting or something like that. But yeah, I just want to be conscious of people's time and not have them sit through meetings that aren't necessary. But I also want to, weigh the other side, is maybe there's visibility in there, or maybe it's just, team bonding. So I'm considering making marketing all hands monthly and having that be more of like, monthly recap, but also, doing some fun stuff, some team bonding. Like, I'll probably bring bagels to it and stuff like that, to keep everybody, feeling involved. But then probably going to more of like a director's, like, weekly is where I'm thinking and ruminating on it.
Dude, some New Jersey bagels, classic.
Got some good stuff over here.
Smart idea.
If you ever make it out, yeah. And then I do one-on-ones bi-weekly. To me, those are like less of like a channel thing. That's more of like a personal thing. Like, here's how you're doing. Here's what you did great at. Here's some, feedback for you. What feedback do you have for me? They've always got to bring some. Where do you need support? Like, where can I help remove roadblocks? How's your team doing? Like, kind of more of like a career coaching conversation. But then I'll do a weekly stand-up. That's like 20, 30 minutes with each director. And that's more on the channel. And that's like theirs to run. But I just want to make sure they get through how their channel's pacing, what they're working on this week, where they need my help. And maybe then they'll bring a Figma file to get approval on or something like that. That's just like quicker to do together.
And sorry, what's the you said stand up with each director. So is it just the two of you, or is like the whole team there?
No, those are just one-on-one. Yeah. So those
okay.
So
they have a different name.
One-on-one. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah. I'm with you. So one-on-one's more personal, more professional development. Stand up is like your channel updates and where you guys are pacing.
Yeah. But I don't know. It sounds like you guys are doing them more as like a team, like not doing like a one-on-one stand-up and doing them kind of more as a team. I'm curious if I could kind of consolidate that into one meeting with a bunch
we're
of
doing both. I mean, like, I'm way more like in my one-on-ones with the team, like we go into way more detail, like than I would, because like we're trying to give literally every person in the growth department an opportunity to speak to what they're working on right now. In that 1 hour long like growth team stand-up, like and then it's like me and just the director of retention and my retention manager also meeting for 45 minutes. Like, we can go into way more depth in that one-on-one than we can in that all team. And like, honestly, the all team frustrates me because I'm like I feel like this is just like busy work, but then I have to take a step back and realize, it actually is valuable for, our director of retention to understand what our director of influence is doing, and for everyone to hear, because they don't get, like, it's easy for forget that. Like I get that because I meet with all these people weekly, but like they don't meet as regularly. So I think it is valuable for like, you know, the last thing you want is like people being like, well, what is so-and-so even doing all day? And it's like, now, you know, like it's pretty clear, and these are big projects, and like there's like a respect that comes out of it, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's what I'm trying to balance is what do I get out of it? What do I
Right.
want? And also what's best for the team for visibility. Yeah, it's hard to know. Like, is it important for our director of influence or director of social to hear what our, you know, head of e-commerce is doing? I'm not entirely sure. But I think probably I'll probably just make it less often. So I don't think it has to be weekly because there's a lot of like redundancies. So it might be bi-weekly, might be monthly, but I'll let you guys know how it goes.
Cody, have you thought about hiring
Yeah,
an
it's super helpful to
HR
hear
lead
yours.
to, I know you said you were going to start focusing on like onboarding and making that a fun, smooth process. Like we hired a VP of HR this year, and her name's Panayota. I'm going to butcher her last name, Panayota Hatsi. She's from CTC. She has made our like onboarding process actually feel like you're joining a real company, not just like, hey, it's day one and here's some tasks for you to work on. Like she's been instrumental in that whole process, which I think is huge for like retention and avoiding churn of employees.
Oh, 100%. It's so important. We have a director, an excellent director of people ops
Okay.
is what we call it. And so she does all of our kind of a one-woman show in that department currently, but does all of our recruitment. She's incredible at it. That's just how we've gotten all these roles hired.
Nice.
We've hired almost all the roles we planned to for the year. And she's just super fast, but also, really good at getting the right people. And it's great to not have to pay recruiter fees, but then she does the onboardings as well. And so like she'll work with the hiring manager. So work with me or somebody else to kind of, set up the process. No, it's great. No, we've gotten really good feedback. I'm starting to take that very seriously, and like we'll ask everybody, and because a lot of times people will just show up and not be given anything. But so we're pretty in depth and thorough with it, and people have been giving us really good feedback, saying it's like some of the better process onboardings they've had, and like kind of rivals like what you would get at a bigger company, because a lot of startups don't have anything built out.
Yeah.
And I think just in general, like that's where I'm not a process person at all. Like we're super startup. Like we like to move as fast as possible, but it's just like as we grow, I'm just learning that like there's more, and I never want it to inhibit our speed. I never want it to feel corporate or anything, but just some of that process is really important to get right from the beginning, so you don't have to continue to do it. So that's kind of where I'm starting to spend some of my time, is thinking about like what can we actually build out to like give people more autonomy and actually let them work faster.
So Cody says he's not a process person, but I remember meeting with your like growth manager at the time, like a year and a half ago, and being like, holy shit, these guys are so dialed with how they're organized around managing these projects. So I think I mean, maybe that wasn't you as much. Maybe that was someone else.
I'm not. No. The thing is, I have a chief of staff. We have a great marketing ops team. Director of people is great. I've got an assistant, so I just know my weaknesses.
Yeah, definitely.
I just know what I'm not good at, and I see the value in it.
Yep.
I just know I'm never going to be the one to do it. Oh, let's hit a test of the week, and then we'll wrap.
real quick. Okay, let me pull my TT. Yes,
got one?
I got one.
So it's been about 2 days on your nav test. Have you concluded that?
two day on the nav test. Haven't concluded it. We got about 200 conversions on each variant, so I'm feeling more and more confident. But we're gonna let that bad boy run for a week before we bring it up again on the show.
How did it feel to be subtweeted by your co-host?
Honestly, it felt kind of good. I've never been subtweeted, and
No, dude, it's such an
That was good.
ongoing conversation. Dave Cook talks about it all the time. It's like people are always talking about like refreshing it. Dude, I'm the worst.
Dude,
at
I've checked
it.
this test so many times
And-
already.
And to prove it, I feel like this is a subtweet. Like 8 people liked it, and the way I like to think about that is 8 people feel like it could be a subtweet about them. Like everybody has this like
So funny.
insecurity that they're checking the test results. way
your
too
response
often.
though, it is such a pinnacle part of the digital marketer's experience. It truly is. Like having your like getting the dopamine hit of seeing it working well, and then you're like crushed when it's not working well. You're like, oh, my idea was all for nothing.
Dude, the real-time data of marketing is like, I think the biggest draw of the profession. Like I remember when I started, 8 or 9 years ago or whatever, my first agency job, I'm like, this is super rad. Like I can do stuff, we can launch it, and then we can look at the data like within the day or 2 days later, a week later. It's like the coolest thing. And the A/B tests are like the quintessential example of that.
I could never go back to a job where I don't have just instantaneous access to our top line revenue and ad spend and like margin data in real time. All right, so the test I'm going to talk about though is a nav test, but it's our mobile nav test, which followed the same general theme of the desktop test, in the sense that we basically just totally reworked the information architecture. This is more of a straight up information flow test because we already reworked and tested into a better design. This one, unlike the current pacing of the desktop nav test, has underperformed, which has been odd because I feel like it's a lot cleaner to find all of our products. But I think my overall hypothesis is it might be information overload. I think the problem with the test right now is that it's just information overload. I think we've added a lot more level, like what I call breadcrumbs, like level 1 breadcrumbs that then go into level 2 with all the categories. So you can find the products better, like easier if you want. What we're planning to do to combat this is we're going to as an addition to each of our level 2 breadcrumbs. Right now, if you click on like hybrid cookware, it just pulls out like pots, pans, deep saute, woks, griddles, and you can click through to those. We're going to add like a top pick section to every single level 1 category. So that way it's just, if you see that and you know what you want, you can just like have a expedited process to that product page. And we'll do that for everything. We'll do that for cookware. We'll do it for like hex mills, for knives. And I think just my hypothesis is that if we just show people what the top sellers are in each category that they're most likely to buy anyways, that it's going to just make the process have less friction, and that'll hopefully improve conversion rate. We'll also pump some of our sets there, so maybe we'll see an AOV bump too. But yeah, we got like the mobile nav testing is, top priority for us in our CRO. So we're doing that next, and then we have a few other versions that we have ideated that we'll probably continue to test into until we feel like we have a good enough performance and a good enough aesthetic of it, and then we'll probably pause testing that for the time being.
That's awesome. Did you guys already have a nested menu, or was that like a key part of this test?
We had,
or you described it as breadcrumbs, but like the way that you could click in and how that was organized.
We had a nested menu, but just like the flow isn't, like some of it makes sense, but other parts don't make sense. You can't find some products. So like the information architecture, the nesting of it just didn't, it just doesn't make sense, or it didn't. I think it will. But so far the one that doesn't make as much sense to me has outperformed the one that makes more sense to me. So that's why we're moving
Funny
forward.
How that works sometimes. I feel like that's always what happens to me.
I know it's frustrating, but what are you going to do? You got to let the data guide you. So that's what we're doing. We got some new versions. We're actually hiring shameless plug. We're hiring a CRO lead in one of the test projects that we're giving candidates is, hey, here's the context. Here's what we've done. Come up with some new versions. It's also paid, by the way, if you're interested. So, yeah, we'll see if we can get some good versions out of that as well.
Awesome.
Hopefully this test, just keep refreshing it. I hear the more you refresh it on the current test, the better it gets. So I'm going to do my part. I'm going to keep refreshing mine, but I hope this one works out for you guys.
Thank you. We will. All right. That's a wrap on episode 19. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you to Motion, Richpanel, Haus, and Prescient, our amazing sponsors. If you're enjoying the show, please like, subscribe, and share. Thanks.